A very good morning to you all. I Tamanna Jana from DPS Vimavaram. I will take your economics class. So today's topic of economics is poverty as a challenge. So let me show you some pictures and I will try to explain you what is going on in this picture. Okay, this is child workers. So what is child worker? Okay, the child under the age of 14 years, if they are working in some places and they are deprived of their childhood, they are known as the child workers, which is actually illegal in India. Still there are some places it is continuing and it is going on. Okay, next, the landless laborers. In our previous class also I have explained you what is landless laborers. What is landless laborers? The laborers means the farmers who don't have a land of their own and they are working in some other people's land, that is they are known as landless laborers. What is the disadvantage of being a landless laborer? That is, whatever production will take place or whatever food crops are produced, it will be divided between the owner of the land as well as the farmer. So it will be ultimately, it is a loss for the landless laborers. Next, the daily wage worker. That is this one also I have explained. Daily wage workers means the people who are paid on a day basis. Okay, every day if they will come to work, they will get their payment or else they will not get their payment. Okay, it means they don't get their payment on monthly basis. Okay, they get their payment on day basis. Okay, the day they will work, they will get the money. If they will not work, they will not get the money or wage, you can say. Next, beggars. That you know, no need of explaining. Whenever you are going to somewhere or going to some place, you are able to see them. Next, okay, this is also a picture. Now you tell me the pictures that I have shown, you will tell them as poor or they are in poverty. Well, some of you will tell they are poor people, some of you will tell they are in poverty. In your book also, and sometimes the word poverty and poor are used synonymously, but there is a very little or very important difference between them. What is the difference? Let me tell you. Come, look at this board. Okay, to decide whether the person is in poverty or not, we take the help of a poverty line. See, this line is poverty line. If the income of a person will be 32 or less than 32, then only we will consider that person as a person in poverty, or he is under the poverty line, then he is the person of poverty. If the income will be more than 32, let's say 33, then he will not be considered as a person in poverty. He will be considered as poor. Okay, so this line, so the difference between a poor and a poverty is this poverty line. It is just an imaginary line which determines or which says, which gives a limit of a income. If a person has less than that particular income, then he will be in poverty line. If a person has more than that income, then he will be called as poor or middle class or rich. Okay, now come to the next slide. So I hope you understood what is the difference between poverty and poor. Just a simple difference. But in your book also, in the 9th class book of the NCERT also, they have used the term poverty and poor synonymously. Somewhere you will see poverty is written, somewhere you will see poor has written. But they have not created the difference between a poor and poverty. But it is important, not from your 9th class point of view, but it is important for further use. Okay, so what are the problems or issues faced by a person who is in poverty? So if I will say, tell me what are the problems a person faces who is in poverty, you will simply say, ma'am, they don't have money. But it is not only the one problem or one issue they face. They faces a number of issues. Okay, let me tell you a story. Listen to the story carefully. You can find out what are the different issues and problems they are facing, and I will help you in that. Okay, so he is Ram. his age is 30 years and he work in a mill of wheat. His income is 1500 a month. Whenever he will be able to find the job, if he will not able to find the job, means he is earning zero. Okay, he is earning zero. But if he manages to find a job or employment, then he earns about 1500 a month. But he has in his family, he has his wife and 4 children. Okay, so this 1500 rupees is not sufficient or not enough for the members of 6, he himself, his wife and the 4 children, and he has his father and mother who are landless laborers. Okay, so sometimes they also depend on Ram's earning. Okay, in order to help the family, his elder son, he started to work in a tea stall. Okay, he started to work in his tea stall. As a result, he is earning 400 rupees a month. Okay, so his smaller children, younger children, they are suffering from undernourished. They are undernourished, means they are suffering from malnutrition. What is malnutrition? If the lack of nutrients that your body requires is known as malnutrition. So the younger children of Ram, they are suffering from malnutrition, and whenever they will when they will fall sick, they don't have the enough money to take them. They don't have enough money to go and visit a doctor. They don't have enough money for medical expenses. As a result, due to malnutrition or undernourished and due to the lack of money, one of his children is suffering from a disease. Okay, so this was the story of a person named as Ram, and this is the story of his family. Okay, now the story is written here. The line which was written in yellow color, they will help you to find out the different problems and issues Ram is facing, so also the other people who are in poverty. Okay, see, we will only read the yellow color lines. Okay, he manages to earn about rupees 1500 a month when he finds employment or job which is not often. It means what? The job is not secured, or he don't have a secure job. There is job insecurity. Okay, next, his family of 6 members, he, his wife and his 4 children, means the size of a family is very large. Next, his parents are landless laborers. Landless laborers means what? They lack lands, or they don't have a land of their own. Okay, it shows us a situation of landlessness. Okay, next, his parents are, okay, done. Next, the elder son works in a tea shop earning rupees 400 per month, and so what it said, remember the first photo I saw today, the first picture I have shown you, that is of a child worker. If his elder son is working in a tea shop, it means what? He is practicing child labor, or he is a child worker. Okay, next, none of the children go to school. So none of his children is going to school, means they are deprived of education, or they are illiterate. Simply they have not even visited school for a once. So they are illiterate. Illiterate means what? Who can't even write their name. Okay, next. Okay, let me explain you this one. There is a difference between illiteracy and uneducated. Okay, illiteracy means those who can't even write their name. But if you are saying I am uneducated, it means what? You can write your name, but maybe you have got some less education. Okay, okay, next. The young children are undernourished. Undernourished means what? There is malnutrition. Malnutrition, I have already explained you that it is a lack of nutrients that your body require. Okay, next, last one, lack of medical support. One of the children developed a disease. One of the children developed disease, but his father, means Ram, cannot do anything because he don't have a sufficient amount of money to treat his child. Okay, so as a result, what it is showing? It is showing his helplessness. He is helpless. Even if he want to treat his child, he cannot, because he don't have the necessary amount of money to treat the child. Okay, so all these whatever I have said, unemployment, large family size, landlessness, then child worker, then illiteracy, then malnutrition, then helplessness, all I have written in this next slide. So earlier you have a thinking that poverty is just related to money, they don't have money. Yes, that is also important point, but these are also important. If a person is in poverty, he faces all these problems like unemployment, large size of the family, landlessness, illiteracy, child labor, poor health and malnutrition, and helplessness. We have already discussed through a story. I hope you understand how Ram is not having a secure job, that's why we are simply telling it as unemployed. He is unemployed, or there is unemployment among the people who are in poverty. Next, large size of a family, you have already seen, and even many surveys says that the people who are under poverty, they have large families. Okay, so even Ram was also having a large family. Landlessness, his fathers and mothers are landless laborers. Okay, so they don't have a land of their own to cultivate. As a result, they have to be dependent on Ram's earning. Okay, next, illiteracy, none of his two children has went to school. Child labor, the elder son of Ram is working in a tea stall, it is an example of child labor. Next, poor health or malnutrition, I have given the example also before, I will not repeat it. Helplessness, I already said, when one of the children of Ram is suffering from malnutrition, and as well as they cannot afford the expenses to treat him or her, obviously they will feel helpless. They want to treat their children, want to treat their child, but they don't have the sufficient amount of money to treat him. Okay, the next slide. So with this story, now we can very well explain what is poverty mean actually. It's not only lack of money is poverty. To explain poverty, we have to take all these into consideration. Okay, first, hunger and lack of shelter. Obviously, take the example of that same story. The child is suffering from malnutrition, or he was undernourished. How? Because he must be feeling hungry, or he don't have the sufficient amount of food to feed him for 2 thrice or for the 4th time, or don't have the sufficient amount of food to provide them nutrient food. As a result, they suffer from hunger. Lack of shelter, you know, Ram must not be staying in some 5-star hotels, or neither in a apartment. He must be staying in some slum areas where all other people under poverty stays. Next, parents are unable to send their children to school. Obviously, Ram was unable to send 4 of the children to the school. That is the reason, in order to help the family, the elder son of Ram was working in a tea stall. Next, sick people cannot afford the treatment. Like Ram is unable to afford the treatment for his child. Next, lack of clean water and sanitary facilities. Very true, they don't have a aquaguard or a Kent to get clean water. Only they have a tap which might be giving water time to time, and they have to feed it to their children, and they only have it. Okay, and sanitary facilities. Obviously, they must not be having a well developed sanitary facilities, means washrooms and all. Next, lack of regular job at a minimum decent pay. We have seen in case of Ram. Ram was getting 1500 rupees only when he was able to do a job, means which was very uncertain. So the job was not regular, it was a irregular job. Okay, living with a sense of helplessness. Last example I have given, the child suffered from some disease and they don't have the sufficient amount of money, that's why they were helpless and they were unable to treat their children. Okay, I hope you understand the meaning of poverty. Poverty is not only refers to the money, it refers to all these dimensions. It includes all this. Okay, hunger, lack of shelter, education, medical expenses, clean water, sanitary facilities, regular job with at least a minimum pay or decent pay you can say, and not living with a helplessness. Okay. So next, analysis of poverty. How we will analyze the poverty? Okay. In order to analyze the poverty, analyze means to estimate the poverty, we have two ways. First one is social exclusion, second one is vulnerability. So what is social exclusion? Social exclusion means, let's give you an example, try to think it. Okay. If a person is poor or he is under poverty, what do you think? He will try to live, or he will live with us, you and me, or he will live with the people who are same category, means who are also poor or who are also in poverty? Yes, they are surrounding with the people and they will live with the people who are also poor and in poverty. Okay. So what are the exclusion that they face or how they are excluded? So see, as they are living in an area where poor people are staying, it's very obvious they will be excluded from the basic facilities, opportunities. Okay. Whatever facilities and opportunities that we get, you get, I get, what we people get, they are excluded from this. Okay. For example, suppose some sort of cyclone started, there was a problem with electricity. So first, electricity will be made proper in the area where rich people are there compared to the poor people. It is the truth. Okay. So that is the reason when the poor is staying in a place where only poor are there, what happens? They usually faces the social exclusion. They usually faces the social inequalities. Okay. Next, vulnerability. What is vulnerability? It refers to the risk or opportunity that a person or a community will remain to be poor or will become poor in few years or in near future. How this can be, how we can get the probability that you can become a poor? For example, suppose you are staying in a family where only one single member is there who is earning. Okay, where only single member is there who is earning. Suppose his money, his income is suppose 1500 rupees. Okay, suppose all of a sudden something happened that he can't work anymore. Suppose his leg got damaged or hand got cut off or something happened that he can't work anymore. Then what will happen? 15,000 means obviously, look at this, 15,000 means obviously your income is more than 30 rupees per day. Okay. When that particular person who was earning the money, he stopped earning because of some incident, what will happen? You directly suddenly from here to you will move to here, from here to here. How? Because all of a sudden your income will fall below 32 and you will be in poverty line. So how we usually think of the probability that people is vulnerable to become or will continue to be in poverty like this. Okay. Another incident is there. It also calculates the risk of it also estimates the risk of the people who will, the risk of the people that the people will going to face when some sort of natural disasters occur. Let the example of flood, cyclone, drought. Okay. And the way they will handle it or they can overcome it, it tells us, or this is what the vulnerability estimates. Okay. Are you getting? Means this second one, what is this? On the basis of risk, these people means what? The people under the poverty. The people under the poverty, usually this vulnerability, they estimates the risk the people going to face if some sorts of natural calamities occur and about their strength to overcome it or to handle it. The last one is that it explains, let me give one simply example. Suppose there is a family member who got retired he was not earning much, he was just simply a clerk in some private office, and he don't have a saving because he have to feed a huge large family and he don't have any savings. Okay, usually the poor people, they don't have savings because whatever they earn, they try to feed his children, and they just, it is a minimum income, they try to feed themselves. Okay, so suppose the retired person, now he don't have any money, we will say he will be in poverty if he don't have any asset, he don't have a good health, or he don't have he don't have any job opportunity. Suppose in a family, father got retired, if the child has education and has good health, we will not say that particular family that particular family is going to become going to face poverty or going to become poor. Why? If the father got retired, the child who has a education and health, he can take the place of his father and he can work something to make the family survive. Okay, so this vulnerability, it includes all 3 points. Okay, first one, he measures the probability that the people who are going to be in poverty. What is the reason? I have already gave you the example. Suppose one family member is there who was earning 15,000 rupees, somehow he got somehow the situation came that he can't work anymore. So what will happen? You were above the poverty line, all of a sudden you will jump down to the in poverty line or under the poverty line. You will be in poverty or you will jump under the poverty line. Okay, next, poverty line. So what is poverty line? It is the imaginary line. Already I have said we can't see this line, it is just simply a imaginary line. It helps us to just divide the section of the people. The person who are just below this particular imaginary line are said to be under poverty line or in poverty. Okay, the person who is above the poverty line, they are known as they are said to be either poor or middle class or rich. They cannot be said as they are in poverty. So how we usually estimate the poverty? According to the consumption, expenditure and income of a person. There is a limit. If the consumption is more than that limit, then you are not in poverty. There is a limit of income. If your income is more than that income, then you are not in poverty. And as well as there is some expenditure. Suppose 1000 rupees. If your expenditure is more than that 1000 rupees, then you are not in poverty. I will explain it in the next slide. Okay, so there is a minimum level, let it be this one. It is a minimum level. If you fall below it, you are in poverty. If you fall above it, you are not in poverty. So let me explain you one by one how we can calculate the percentage of poverty, or how can we say the people is under poverty or not through the help of expenditure, income and consumption. So the poverty line is estimated in India in the following ways. I already said expenditure, consumption and income. One by one we will discuss. Okay, so expenditure. In expenditure, we usually calculate the basic necessities like food, footwear, then medical expenses, educational expenses, clothing, fuel, which are the necessities of life. Okay, we will see this one, the requirements or the necessity. We will calculate it. How we will calculate? We will just simply multiply it with their price. Okay, if after multiplying the price, suppose a limit is given of rupees 1000. Okay, if your expenditure is more than 1000, you are not in poverty. So after calculating, the total is 1200. If it is 1200, then you are not in poverty, because the limit is given as, suppose this one, suppose your expenditure, okay, this is for expenditure. Expenditure means what you spend. Okay, what you spend. So if you spend 1000 rupees in all the necessities, if you spend more than 1000 rupees, then you are not in poverty. If you are spending less than 1000 rupees, then you are in poverty. So here you can take the example, he is spending 1200 rupees. If he is spending 1200 rupees, then you can very sure say that he is not in poverty, or he is not below the poverty line. So he is not at all in poverty. Okay, next. Okay, consumption. So what is consumption? See, we usually consume, or what we eat, you can simply say what we eat. Okay, whenever we are eating something or consuming something, we gain some calories. So this type of measurement for poverty is based on what? The calorie intake, how much calorie we intake usually. Okay, so for example, whenever we will have that food, we gain calorie, but how much calorie is required for you to remain above the poverty line? Let's see from this table. Okay, calories requirement per person. Okay, in rural areas means villages, in urban areas means the cities or town. So Bhimavaram is a town, right? Or you can say urban area. Okay, in rural areas it is expected that your calories intake should be 2400 per day, and in urban area it should be 2100 calorie per day. Now you must be having a question that why there is difference between the calories, why in rural area it is 2400 and why in urban area it is 2100. So what is why is this difference? See, it is considered that the rural people, means the people who are in villages, they usually do more physical work. Physical work requires more energy, and to create more energy, what we require? More calories, more food intake, which has more calories. Okay, that is the reason some people usually consider, or the person who has developed this method, he considered that the people who are in rural area, they usually do more labor, or you can say physical work. As a result, they should have more calories, and the person who are in urban areas, they usually do more mental work, they don't do more physical work. So they can have, if they will have only simply 2100 calories, it will be okay. So if the rural people will have the calories less than 2400, they will be considered to be in poverty. And in the same way, if the urban people, they will have the calories less than 2100, they will be considered to be in poverty. Okay, they will have the calories more than this or this, they will not be in poverty. If rural people, they will have the calories 2400 or more than it, then they will also be considered not to be in poverty line. Okay, next, income. Okay, income method, it is measured according to the income a family has, okay, per day. Okay, look at this table. Income requirement of the people. Okay, what is the requirement of the income which will help you to decide, which will help us to decide whether you are above the poverty line or below the poverty line, whether you are in poverty or you are not in poverty. Okay, so income requirement of the people. In rural area, the minimum amount of income required is 32 per day. But in urban area, the minimum amount of income required is 47 per day. Again, a question arises, why there is this much difference between the income between the rural people and urban people? See, it is considered, and it is to some extent it is correct also, the cost of living or the prices of various things are less in rural areas. The tomatoes or the potatoes that you get here for 30 rupees, there you can get it 10 rupees. Okay, so the cost of living in rural areas is less compared to the urban areas. So that is the reason why the income for rural people is made 32 and the income for urban people is made 47 as a limit. Okay, okay, I hope you understand. Huh? Okay, but before moving to this slide, I want to explain you another thing. The poverty line varies with time and place. Okay, the poverty line varies with time and place. Let me give you the example of place first. Okay, in India, I have already shown the 32 is the limit for rural people. Take that example only, 32. Okay, see, if in India we consider 32 to be the limit of poverty line, the income to be the limit of poverty line, can you say the same amount we can put for US dollars? this is rupees, we can put for dollars? No. Why? Because 72 rupees of India becomes one single dollar for US. So if we will say no, 32 rupees will be, that amount will be same for US, it will just, what I will say, it's worthless, it's of no use, because that 32 rupees is nothing for them. To make just single dollar, we need 72 rupees of our India. Got it? So with place it changes. And let me give you another example. In US, having a car is not a symbol of richness, but in India it is a symbol of richness. Okay, if there also the poor people have the car, the poor people they have car, but so this is the reason why the poverty line changes with place, and why with time. Let me give the example. Suppose before 10 years before, the limit of the poverty line be 18 rupees. If you have the income of 18 rupees per day, then you are out of poverty. But after 10 years, now is 2020, if we will keep the same limit, it's of no use. Why? In that 18 rupees, before 10 years, we used to get so many things, at least rice, dal, the minimum things. But now, after 10 years in 2020, if we will use the same 18 rupees, what we will get? We can't even get a less packet which is 20 rupees now. So that is the reason why the limit of poverty is changing, why the limit of poverty has been increased day by day. With time it is increasing, and also with place it is differing. Okay? Okay, now come to this graph. This is a graph which is showing what I will say. This is showing the different types of people, the people who are scheduled tribe, the people who are scheduled caste, people who are casual labor in rural areas, and the people who are casual labor in urban areas. Okay, so it is showing the total amount of poverty per 100 people among the scheduled caste is about 43, which is the highest, but the amount of poverty per 100 rupees in scheduled caste is 29. Amount of poverty as a casual labor in rural area is about 34 per 100 people, 34 per 100 people, and it is it is just same as the urban people, it is also 34. Okay, so the most amount of poverty, the most amount of poverty we can see, it is there among the scheduled tribe. Okay, next, so some facts that India has a poverty of around 21.9%, and which is the most poorest state in India, that is the Odisha and Bihar. But the states like West Bengal, Maharashtra, Punjab, Haryana, then Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, all they have succeeded in removing the poverty up to a large extent. Okay, so who are the poorest states in India? Odisha and Bihar. So what is the total amount of poverty in India? That is 21.9%. Okay, and the states, these are the states who are successful in reducing the poverty to a large extent. Okay, they are West Bengal, Kerala, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana. So it's an achievement for India. Okay, so causes of poverty. What are the different causes of poverty? Okay, these are the various causes. I will explain you one by one. Starting with first, low level of economic development under the British rule. As we all know, India was under the British rule for 200 years. So what happened during that time? I want to mention Dadabhai Naoroji, you must be knowing. Dadabhai Naoroji wrote a book named as Poverty and Un-British Rule. There he explained how Britishers made the India poor, how they, how they fooled the India, and how they drained the wealth from India to their country. Okay, so whatever policies these Britishers started, it totally destroyed our handicraft industries. Okay, handicraft industries were the most important type of industries which was creating a lots job. Okay, as the Britishers were successful in destroying our handicraft industries, so all of a sudden the creation of job stopped. As a result, there was mass unemployment, and ultimately it led to poverty. When there will be no job, ultimately people won't be having any income and they will fall below the poverty line. Okay. Next, lack of job opportunity. What are the why there was lack of job opportunity? Let me tell you. When green revolution started in the previous class, I explained you about green revolution. It was started by MS Swaminathan. According to that method, what happened? They started using varieties of equipments, irrigation, seeds. So as a result, the production rose. As the production rose, the employment also rose. But what happened? It was just limited. The green revolution taken place in just limited places. So as a result, the employment rose in those limited places. The employment is more, job is created only to those places. Okay. And the industries also created job, but it was very less compared to the youth, jobless youth. The population was increasing one day, but in one hand, but the job was not creating and the as per the match. Okay, it was not increasing. So as a result, there was lack of job opportunity to the growing population of India. Okay. As a result, if there is no job, no employment, ultimately it leads to poverty. Okay. Next, income inequalities. This is a truth for us, a biggest truth. What we will say, there is income inequalities between the rich and poor. In our India, it is true that there are very less people who are rich, a small amount of people who are rich, and maximum people are poor. Okay. So more amount of income are there in the few hands of rich, and very small amount of income is there in the for the large population of poor. As a result, day by day the gap between the rich and poor is increasing. Okay, that is the reason these specific people who are poor, they are suffering from poverty, and they are ultimately poor, and they are suffering from poverty, and they are in poverty. Okay. Next, other socio-cultural and economic factors. What are the other socio-cultural and economic factors? See, in Indian wedding, no, it is always a big fat wedding. The people invest a huge amount of money in all the social functions. Let it be a marriage, let it be a thread ceremony, you can say in birthday also they spend a lots of money in all the social functions. So that can be another reason for poverty, because we people we believe more in show off. So for showing off, you need a huge amount of money, and you are just wasting a huge amount of money, which is ultimately make you poor, or you will ultimately fall in poverty. Okay. Next, what are the economic factors? See, what are the agriculture of farmers, in order to buy the various agricultural inputs, let it be seeds, pesticides, fertilizers, they needs a huge amount of money or funds. They see, the poor people, they never have savings. Whatever they are earning, they are just they are just feeding themselves. Okay. So they don't have a sufficient amount of money. So in order to purchase those items, those agricultural inputs, what they will do? They will take the loan from other people. But because of poverty, they won't be able to return it. As a result, they will always be in indebtedness. Okay. They will always be in indebtedness. Okay. Next, anti-poverty measures. So we already read about poverty. It is the issues related to poverty, the causes of poverty. Now we will read about the anti-poverty measures. Means what? How can we eliminate poverty, or how can we remove the poverty, and what are the steps taken by the government to remove the poverty? So we will discuss about two anti-poverty measures. First one is promotion of economic growth. How promotion of economic growth will help us to deal with the poverty, or help us to reduce the poverty. And the second one is the anti-poverty programs. The anti-poverty programs means different schemes and programs which are started by the government in order to reduce the poverty, or in order to help the people to, or in order to uplift the poor people, uplift the poor people. Okay. promotion of economic growth. Okay. Okay, the factors which is necessary to promote the economic growth. After economic growth takes place, it results in those factors only. So let us discuss one by one. Employment increases. So what it is saying, as economic growth takes place, it leads to increase in employment. Okay. So when the economic growth takes place, the production will increase. As the production will increase, people need the owner need more and more people. We will employ more and more people to work on it in order to produce more things. Okay. So as employment increases, it will lead to increase in income. Obviously, if I am getting a job or employment, ultimately it will result in increasing income. Okay, or I will get an increase of income, or I will get more income. So when there is increase in income, or when the income increases, what it will leads to poverty reduction. Obviously, when there is more income, if your income will be more than this 32 rupees, you will not be a part of poverty. Okay, you will move upward. Okay, so ultimately when the income increases, the poverty start reducing. Okay, or it reduces. Okay, as the poverty reduces, what it will do? When the poverty is not there, obviously a man will try to give better education to his children. Okay, so it will create better education for all the children in India. Okay, and they will also get better medical facilities, and ultimately all this will also result in economic growth, and economic growth also results in all this. Okay, so when there is economic growth, employment increases. When there is increase in employment, your income increases. When there is increase in income, the poverty reduces. As the poverty reduces, or when the people has more income, they will try to give better education, better training, better skill training to their children, so that they also can get a employment, and as well as they can provide their child with better medical facilities. Ultimately, after getting all this education and medical facilities, the child will get employment, and again they will also help us to, their income will increase, and again their poverty will increase. Again they can provide their children with better education, with better medical facilities, and as their children are getting better education, again they will get employment. So this is just a cycle which goes and goes and goes, and it will help us to remove the poverty. It will help the 21.9% population to, it will help us to uplift those 29.9% population who are still under the poverty line. Okay, next, anti-poverty programs. So government has undertaken many anti-poverty programs. Out of this, these four are important, so I will explain you one by one. First one, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. It aims to provide job to the rural youth. Okay, till now it has provided 220 employment days, 220 crores employment days to the rural youth, and they are also paying the wages for those days, those 100 days. Okay, next, the Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana 1993. What it aims to provide the job, or it helps the educated youth of rural and village area to start their own business, small businesses. Okay, so they help those people to start their business, because as India has a shortage of employment, so in order to encourage, or in order to provide initiative to the poor educated people to start their own business, so that not only he will be employed, along with him so many people will get employment. Okay, next, Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana 1999. Okay, under this Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarojgar Yojana 1999, people are also provided employment through the help of self group. Okay, self-help group. What is that group? The group is consisting of around 10 to 20 members. They will provide the help in terms of money or credit to the poor and educated villagers. They will mix up the bank credit, whatever money they have, and they will mix up the subsidies that the government is providing, and in order they will mix it up and they will give the required amount to the person who wanted to start his own business. Okay, so what is subsidy? Subsidy are the initiative given by the government in order to help the people who are in poor. So the self-help group, what they will do, they will mix the initiative given by the government as well as their income, so that they can help the people, the educated person of their village to start a business, so that it will create employment in the business. Many people can go and they can have the employment, okay, because of that. Okay, next, Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana 2000. So according to this Yojana, Yojana which was started in 2000, the government started providing them the food, providing the food to the people who are below the poverty line. They started to provide them at the subsidized amount. They started to provide the food to the poor people or the people who are below the poverty line. Okay, last one is Antodaya Anna Yojana 2000. Antodaya Anna Yojana 2000. So according to this Yojana, in my previous class we have discussed about public distribution system. What was happening at that time? The government was trying to help the poor people or the people who are in poverty by providing them the food with lower with much more lower price compared to the market price. The rice, which is 45 rupees in market, it is provided under public distribution system at rupees 100, at rupees 10. Okay, so in this Antodaya Anna Yojana 2000, the government started to provide the food to the people with a very less price, okay, compared to the market price of that particular thing. So for example, rice which is selling by the rice which is sold by the market at rupees 45, according to this scheme they started to provide that rice in ration shop at just rupees 10. All these are the anti-poverty programs which has been undertaken by the government in order to help the people who are in poverty and also the poor people, in order to uplift those people who are in poverty and in order to help them. Okay, so Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005, it is providing the employment to the rural youth for 100 days with the payment of wages for 100 days. Okay, Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana 1993, it is providing, it is just helping out the educated youth to start their own business, small business, or what do you say, factories. Okay, next, Swarna Jayanti Grama Swarojgar Yojana 1999, it is providing, it is just it has created a self group, okay, self-help group who are collecting the money from their wages and as well as the subsidies provided by the government. They are mixing it and they are giving those amounts to the people who wanted to start their own business in the village. Why they are doing that? So that the other people who are unemployed in the village, they can also join in that business. Okay, ultimately it will help to reduce the unemployment and poverty. Last one is Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana 2000. According to this scheme, the government is trying to help out this the person who are in poverty and also the poor people by providing them the food, subsidized food. Okay, next, Antodaya Anna Yojana 2000, it is providing the food to the people at a very less price compared to the market price. Okay, I have already given an example of rice which is sold for rupees 25 in market. It is given to the poor at just rupees 10. Okay, so this is done by the use of public distribution health. So what we read today, we read what is poverty and what is the difference between the poor and poverty, then the issues or the problems that are faced by the people who are in poverty or who are poor. We read about a poverty line, what is a poverty line, and how the poverty line is estimated by 3 more ways, like through expenditure, through the consumption and through the income. Okay. After that we read about various anti-poverty measures. The poverty line is measured according to the expenditure, consumption and income yours. If there is a limit, if your expenditure is more than that, then you are not under poverty line. If your expenditure is less than that, you are in poverty. Okay. In the same way about the consumption, if your consumption is more than 2000, the consumption was having 2 parts. The rural, usually the rural people should have the calories of 2400 per day, and the urban should have the calorie that is 2100 per day. Why there was the difference of calories? Because the urban people are expected to do more physical work compared to the rural people are expected to do more physical work compared to the urban people. So there is also a difference in income. If the urban people has income more than 47, then you are not in poverty, and as well as if the rural people has a income which is more than 32 rupees, then you are not, then they are not in poverty. Here why there is difference in the income? Because the cost of living of urban people is much more compared to the cost of living of the rural people. Okay. So these are the 3 methods through which the poverty line is estimated, or the methods through which the people under poverty is estimated, whether the people is under the poverty or not. Then we discussed about the causes of poverty. Yes, I have discussed 4 causes of poverty. The India was suffering from poverty. The main reason is because of the British rule. Their policy, they totally damaged the Indian economy. Then the gap between the rich and poor, there is a huge amount of gap between the rich and the poor. It is also a reason for poverty. And there is no job opportunities. Why there is no job opportunities? Because the population is increasing day by day. As the population is increasing day by day, as a result, what is happening? That much amount of job is not, we are not able to create that much amount of job. Suppose the job is created for 20 people, but the population is 40. So it can accommodate this 20 people. But what about the leftover 20 people? They will be in poverty. Okay. So the government has taken the initiative to reduce the poverty. These are the 5 initiatives I have already explained. And another way through which we can reduce poverty is by increasing the economic growth. How we can increase the economic growth? By providing better education to the people. If the people will get better education, they will have the more opportunity. They will get the more opportunity to get the job. When there is job, they will have more income. When there is income, the poverty will reduce, and when the poverty is reduced, they can give the next generation a better education and better medical facilities. Ultimately, it is a cycle and it will go on, and it will result in what? Economic, in 2 hands. Economic growth and poverty go hand in hand. Okay. It is just inversely proportional. How it is inversely proportional? When the economic growth will increase, the poverty will decrease, and when poverty will increase, the economic growth is decrease. So it is indirectly proportional. Okay. So that's all. Thank you and have a nice day.